Hey everyone, welcome back. The new Harry Potter series just leaked again. Something huge is brewing under the codename Brown Cat. HBO's been filming in a tiny village that fans think is Godric's Hollow, and the leaks are getting wild. Real sets, night shoots, and some suspicious pumpkins. We'll break it down, plus Keira Knightley's awkward moment, a legend's passing, and why even a remote pub just got dragged into Potter drama. Buckle up, let's go. All right. Let's start with what everyone's been whispering about for weeks. The Lustleigh shoot. The so-called Brown Cat production has officially taken over this quiet Dartmoor village. And the leaks we've been seeing from locals, reporters, and those accidental Facebook posts give us more clues than HBO would probably like. Let's recap quickly. Filming first started in Cornwall, especially at Cadgwith Cove and Carnglaze Caverns, with several witnesses confirming scenes involving Dumbledore, John Lithgow, and Nicholas Flamel. Remember the pictures of Lithgow walking on that beach in his full wizarding robes? Those weren't just random B-roll moments. The Cornwall sequence looked heavily designed to echo the Philosopher's Stone's early alchemy and mentorship themes. Flamel was confirmed months ago as part of Season 1's world-building arc, not as a full character, but as a historical flashback or a magical exposition piece. So we've got Flamel, Dumbledore, and scenes suggesting alchemy, secrets, and possibly the first hints of the stone's existence. Now that the production has moved inland to Lustleigh, the mood has completely shifted. Gone are the coastal cliffs and alchemical caves. We're now in a storybook English village with mossy walls, narrow lanes, and a thatched roof pub called the Cleeve Inn, which has been shut down entirely for filming. Luke Smith, who runs the place, told reporters, the pub would be shut for filming on Wednesday and Thursday, but the only information he had was the production's codename of Brown Cat. He added, there is a real buzz around the village. It is a sleepy village in Lustleigh. We know it as Brown Cat. That's all we've been told. Classic HBO secrecy. But we've seen this before. When production uses codenames like Brown Cat, it's not just to mislead fans. It's to legally mask filming permits and keep local chatter low. Except this time, it totally backfired. Because Lustleigh is tiny. You can't bring in lighting rigs, close the main street, and repaint the post office without people noticing. From all the details we've got, including those night shoot setups and Halloween decorations around the granite cross on the village green, the strongest theory right now is that Lustleigh is standing in for Godric's Hollow. That would make perfect sense geographically and tonally. Godric's Hollow, in the books, is a tranquil, almost eerily preserved English village. The birthplace of Godric Gryffindor, home of Bathilda Bagshot, and of course, where the Potters were killed. It's supposed to look ordinary on the surface, but carry layers of history and trauma underneath, which is exactly the kind of place Lustleigh is in real life. Locals have described a lot of security, closed roads, and even fresh repairs to Raylan Path. The parish clerk wrote, "Good news. The filming company have been given permission by the DCC Highways to proceed with repairs on Raylan Path, using an approved contractor. The contractor will fill all large potholes manually and will then assess if further work needs to be carried out." The irony of a Harry Potter shoot literally fixing roads hasn't been lost on anyone. One villager joked, "Harry Potter and the potholes? Good new book heading." But the real curiosity isn't the potholes. It's what scenes they're filming that require night shoots and an entire street closure. Let's analyze this like fans with context. If Cornwall handled the Flamel and Dumbledore material, the more mystical and lore-heavy sequences, then Lustleigh is likely shifting to something grounded and emotional. Maybe we're seeing the flashback to the Potter's house. Some of the road signage seen in fan photos includes pumpkins and lanterns. Small details. Another possibility, and one several crew members hinted at indirectly, is that Lustleigh could also double for Little Whinging, the suburban backdrop of Privet Drive. But that's less likely since the Upminster set in East London has already been transformed into Privet Drive. Lustleigh's architecture, with its thatched roofs and ancient church, doesn't scream Surrey suburbia. It screams folklore, which is why Godric's Hollow remains the top theory. A few of the extras reportedly signed NDAs mentioning church sequences and memorial walkbys. One local resident mentioned that during the night shoot, you won't get anywhere near the action. That implies controlled pyrotechnics or visual effects setups, possibly simulating wand light in the dark or even a recreation of the attack itself. Imagine if the Lustleigh shoot covers both timelines. The night the Potters died and Harry's later return, giving the audience a haunting visual echo between the two moments. Even the codename Brown Cat might hold a cheeky nod to the story's themes: transformation, secrecy, and animagi. Maybe it's meaningless corporate cover, or maybe someone in the production office has a sense of humor. Either way, it fits. The atmosphere around Lustleigh now feels exactly like what happened when Warner Brothers shot the Half-Blood Prince cave scenes in Pembrokeshire. Heavy security, vague local statements, and lots of lights at night. As one fan shop owner in Axminster put it, those involved in the production were very tight-lipped. Devon already has a lot of links with the Potter world. I think J.K. Rowling used a lot of Devon influences when she was writing originally. That line is fascinating. It almost confirms why the production team chose Devon in the first place. Rowling's fictional geography has always mirrored real West Country names like Budleigh Salterton, which inspired Budleigh Babaron. So using Lustleigh for Godric's Hollow isn't random. It's meta-textual. It's literally bringing the inspiration back home. And yes, HBO seems to be leaning into authenticity more than spectacle this time. Instead of massive green screen sets, they're embedding the wizarding world into real English textures. Granite walls, foggy lanes, candlelit windows. That's the aesthetic that might save this reboot from feeling like a nostalgia cash grab. If you've seen the leaked photos, you'll notice how the lighting design looks warmer, almost amber-toned. Think early Prisoner of Azkaban mixed with HBO's His Dark Materials. If that's the case, the Lustleigh leaks aren't just exciting. They're promising a series that's visually grounded and emotionally aware. So next time someone tells you nothing's happening yet, just remember. Somewhere in a tiny Dartmoor village, under the codename Brown Cat, HBO is quietly rewriting one of the most important nights in wizarding history. And if you're still here, drop a like in the comments for Brown Cat, the real MVP of the leaks. Let's move on to the next headline. And this one stirred a storm online. Keira Knightley laughing mid-question when asked about the Harry Potter boycott. Yep, in an interview promoting the upcoming audio adaptation of all 7 books, where Keira voices Professor Umbridge, she was asked about fans boycotting anything linked to J.K. Rowling. And her reaction became instant viral fuel. The moment she's asked, she chuckles nervously and says, "I'm very sorry." Then adds, "I think we're all living in a period of time right now where we're all going to have to figure out how to live together, aren't we? And we've all got very different opinions. I hope that we can all find respect." Now on paper, that's a pretty neutral diplomatic answer. But tone matters, and fans read it as dismissive. Twitter and TikTok lit up with comments like, "Such a patronizing tone for such a goofy-ass sentiment," and "Extremely weird and awkward response. I'm pretty disappointed in Keira TBH. Some even said she looked annoyed that the topic came up." And honestly, maybe she was. Actors signing on to Potter projects today know they're walking into a minefield. Keira's case is unique because she's not joining the HBO reboot. She's part of the audiobook re-recording, a massive high-profile project running parallel to the show. Alongside her, you've got names like James McAvoy, Matthew Macfadyen, Hugh Laurie, Michelle Gomez, and Riz Ahmed. A cast stacked with prestige and variety. And yet, despite that talent, every interview circles back to Rowling. Keira's role choice also raised eyebrows. Umbridge isn't just any character. She's a symbol of institutional cruelty, denial, and passive-aggressive evil wrapped in pink lace. So fans immediately jumped on the irony of Keira laughing off a question about intolerance while promoting a character who literally weaponizes intolerance. It's unfair to expect her to speak for the entire franchise, but it shows how toxic the atmosphere has become. Even audiobook cast members can't escape the cultural weight of the brand. And you can sense the fatigue setting in. Every actor, from Radcliffe to Watson to newcomers, has had to navigate the Rowling question. Kira, who's built a career on prestige period dramas and feminist-leaning projects, probably thought she was signing onto a beloved classic. Instead, she walked into one of the most polarizing fandom debates of the decade. To make it weirder, in an earlier interview, she actually said she wasn't aware of any boycott, which fans didn't buy. That comment aged poorly once the laughter clip hit the internet. Kira's laughter, intentional or not, became a stand-in for the awkwardness of that entire situation. And yet, let's not forget the creative irony here. Umbridge was described by Stephen King as the greatest make-believe villain to come along since Hannibal Lecter. Now, decades later, that same character is sparking another moral panic, this time in real life. So whether you think Kira mishandled it or just got caught in the storm, her interview is a snapshot of where the wizarding world sits in 2025. In production, under pressure, and constantly at war with its own image. When news broke that Drew Struzan had passed away at 78, the internet's reaction wasn't loud or performative. It was quiet, nostalgic, and deeply emotional. Because if you grew up with Harry Potter, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, or Back to the Future, you grew up with Drew. He wasn't a movie poster artist. He was the guy who defined what movie wonder looked like. The official statement on Instagram read, "It is with a heavy heart that I must tell you that Drew Struzan has moved on from this world as of yesterday, October 13th. I feel it is important that you all know how many times he expressed to me the joy he felt knowing how much you appreciated his art." That line, the joy he felt knowing how much you appreciated his art, hits differently when you realize how deeply his work shaped what cinematic fantasy means for millions of people. Born in 1947, Struzan started as a commercial illustrator in the 1970s. He painted album covers for Black Sabbath and the Beach Boys before shifting to film, where his talent collided with Hollywood's golden era of practical art. Before Photoshop, before AI, before 3D modeling, you needed someone who could imagine a movie on paper before it even existed. And Struzan didn't just imagine, he summoned it. Every brushstroke felt alive. Every glowing face and swirling background gave you an emotional roadmap for the film before the first line of dialogue ever played. That's why when you look at his poster for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, it doesn't just sell a movie. It defines the memory of it. The warm amber tones, the way light spills from Hogwarts, the softness of Harry's face contrasted with the shadowed figures behind him. It captured everything about that first film's balance between innocence and danger. That's what Struzan did better than anyone. He understood tone. He once said, "I'm selling movies, yes, but if I can do it with art, with beauty, in a way that reaches people and touches them, that's what makes me happy." It wasn't marketing. It was visual storytelling. You can see it in the Star Wars special editions, where he somehow managed to blend Luke's mythic scale with Han's swagger and Leia's warmth, all in a single painted composition. Or in the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade poster, where Indy's hat overlaps the frame like he's breaking out of the painting itself. Steven Spielberg called him my favorite movie artist. He even said, "I had to almost live up to the art that we later were going to ask Drew to create for the poster." That's such an incredible reversal. Imagine creating art so iconic that directors feel pressure to make their movies worthy of you. After his death, tributes poured in. Spielberg again. Drew made event art. His posters made many of our movies into destinations. And the memory of those movies and the age we were when we saw them always comes flashing back just by glancing at his iconic photorealistic imagery. Guillermo del Toro wrote, "The world lost a genial man, a genius communicator and supreme artist. I lost a friend, beloved Drew." Jim Lee, DC's head and one of the most respected comic artists alive, added, "A giant among giants." His work captured the humanity, power, and emotion of his subjects in ways not seen since. And Marvel's J. Scott Campbell summed it up perfectly. He has left us all with so much beauty to enjoy for generations to come. That's the legacy. He wasn't just painting faces. He was painting memories. For Potter fans, Struzan's touch bridged the books and the films. That first Sorcerer's Stone poster wasn't an adaptation of the movie's photography. It was the movie before the movie existed. It made Hogwarts feel ancient, mythic, and alive long before the first trailer dropped. It's no exaggeration to say that when people think of the early 2000s magic aesthetic, the golden light, the parchment texture, the candlelit warmth, they're thinking in Struzan's language. And while the franchise's tone evolved under later directors, that original look, the storybook realism of the first film's marketing, became the franchise's DNA. In interviews, Struzan always avoided picking favorites. He once said, "If I had a favorite, then I would have already done the best I can do. I'd lose my spark of creativity. My favorite is always the very next one." Rest easy, Drew. You made the magic real before any of us saw it. Now, from art to absurdity, let's talk about how Harry Potter somehow managed to cause drama in the most remote pub in the United Kingdom. Yes, this is real. The Old Forge pub in Knoydart, Scotland's famously most isolated pub, reachable only by boat or a 2-day hike through the Highlands, had planned a cozy Harry Potter-themed Halloween party. Pumpkins, costumes, butterbeer vibes, totally innocent fun. Until it wasn't. After announcing the event, the pub's staff started receiving what they called inappropriate grief from trans activists online. In a post on Instagram, management explained, "The pub management team have decided to cancel this year's Halloween dinner party. It was always meant to be just a fun night, but unfortunately using Harry Potter as a theme has proven dividing, and some of our staff have received inappropriate grief as a result." They added, "We thought it was clear how we feel about everyone's rights, especially given our recent support of the amazing Knoydart Pride celebrations. We had also planned a charity collection for trans youth on the night." That's the heartbreaking part. The event was literally going to raise money for trans youth, but the Potter Association itself became the issue. "We would just like to reiterate that the pub cares about everyone in our community, and we would ask folk to be kind and respectful to each other and our staff." That should have been the end of it. But of course it wasn't. The story spread fast, igniting yet another cultural battle over J.K. Rowling's legacy. Fiona McAnina from the campaign group Matters said, "Yet again, extreme trans activists have bullied others into submission. They forced a pub to cancel a Harry Potter-themed event because trans activists hate the author, J.K. Rowling, a woman whose work has brought joy to millions and who has given away a fortune to help others." And Trina Budge of For Women Scotland added, "If you don't approve of the theme, then don't go. Don't spoil it for everyone else." Now you can agree or disagree with either side, but what's fascinating, and kind of tragic, is how Harry Potter has become a cultural lightning rod even in a place that's practically off the grid. This isn't a media hub or a London bookstore. It's a pub you have to sail to. And yet, even there, you can't throw a simple magical party without triggering an online firestorm. It's almost poetic in a bleak way. The story of Harry Potter was always about communities under pressure, about kindness being more radical than conflict. And now, that same story is tearing real communities apart. If Dumbledore were here, he'd probably remind everyone that words are, in my not-so-humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic. And yet, today, it feels like those words have turned into curses. The Old Forge team did the right thing. They stayed kind. They didn't fight back, didn't pick sides, just chose peace. That's a lesson in itself. But the fact that even Britain's most isolated pub can't throw a simple Harry Potter party without controversy tells you everything about where this fandom stands in 2025. The magic's still there, but it's harder than ever to share it without consequence. So there you have it. The HBO Harry Potter reboot is deep in production. Keira Knightley's already stirring up controversy. We've lost one of the greatest film artists of all time, and even a remote pub in the Highlands isn't safe from Potter drama. Is HBO's new direction helping the franchise heal, or are we still stuck in a war of wands and words? Let me know in the comments. If you want more breakdowns like this, the leaks, the industry side, the cast updates, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Peace.